Game day's here, I can hear the crowd. Turn on the lights, fans are cranked up and loud. Red or blue, we wear it proud. Yeah, we love our teams in this border town. Chiefs and Royals, Boo Mizzou, Rock Chalk, Jayhawk, KU. Hear that drum pounding in your feet. Yeah, you're marching to the beat of KC.
What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lucas Murphy, and I have the itch for baseball. It is starting to get to that time. Christmas just passed, New Year's is right around the corner, and we are getting ready to transition into what I would consider baseball season. Obviously, the Super Bowl, the playoffs are going to get ready to start. Once that really kind of gets to the end, it's full-on baseball season. But I have that itch, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm excited to talk about the KansasCityRoyals. I'm really excited to talk about where they're at. And I think how their offseason has really kind of transpired this offseason. And it just feels a little different. It feels like we're starting to really build a true foundation moving forward and not just kind of going on a year-to-year basis. The moves that we've made, some of the things that we've done through free agency, through trades, through locking up guys that are on the team for long-term deals, they're really starting to kind of build for the future as well as 2026. I'm excited to talk to you about this because, again, I have that itch for baseball, and this is just really kind of that anticipation for that. I do want to clarify, I will be comparing the Kansas City Royals before the season starts, once we kind of really get closer to spring training, to each team in the AL Central, because that's my focus. I'm not so concerned about all the teams in the entire AL. My biggest focus right now is dominating and winning the division. That's how you really make a statement. Go out there and win the AL Central. So with that being said, in 2024, the Kansas City Royals would place second in the AL Central with an 86-76 record. The feel of that season, the way it just kind of came about, was phenomenal. And really, they would secure a wild card spot. They would go to Baltimore, making an absolute statement, only to fall to the New York Yankees in the divisional round 3-1. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, that really kind of got the juices flowing for Kansas City Royals fans. Now, obviously, the next year in 2025, it didn't go the exact same. And if you really compare those rosters, to be honest with you, in my opinion, the 2025 roster actually was probably better suited to make the playoffs than the 2024 season. I really think that they were kind of ahead of the curve and really kind of just went out there and played the game of baseball. They competed. They did things in situations that were right. They won close ball games at times. They did things that just really were out of the norm for where they were as an organization. So I really think that got people excited. In 2025, and the team would fall short of their aspirations going to the playoffs. But there's just, again, something about this 2025 to 26 offseason that just feels different. I can kind of feel the momentum around this team building. I can feel the fan base kind of really generating some excitement. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs did not do or live up to the expectations that they really anticipated. So I think a lot of people are starting to really see what the Kansas City Royals are doing, and are starting to transition and prepare for baseball. Now, the Kansas City Royals aren't talking about eventual hope anymore. They're talking about now. The AL Central is wide open. And like I said, we're going to break down and compare each team, and I'll do that here in a little bit, but we're not going to go into super in-depth detail because that's not what this video is going to necessarily be about. But the Royals are no longer in a rebuilding afterthought. They're competitive, credible, and dangerously close to taking the next step. The question isn't, is Kansas City improving? The question is whether they're willing to push all the way in. And so I think that's really what this video is going to be about. So how close are the Royals in the AL Central? If you really look around the division, there really isn't a juggernaut that exists. You know, a lot of people would say, oh, the Detroit Tigers, which we'll talk about. But truthfully, ladies and gentlemen, I don't 100% believe that they're a juggernaut. If they were truly a juggernaut, they would have went a lot further in the playoffs. They would have done a lot more with the roster that they've built. And so I just don't truly believe that the Detroit Tigers are what I would consider a juggernaut team. And there's definitely not a juggernaut inside the AL Central. Now the Twins, they were in an absolute tailspin at the trade deadline in 2025 and practically sent everyone on their roster away except Joe Ryan, Pablo Lopez, Byron Buxton, and the injury-plagued, often third baseman in Royce Lewis. This offseason, they have not really made any significant upgrades, and what's crazy is they've even been rumored to potentially move in guys like Pablo Lopez and even Joe Ryan. Although those rumors really have kind of cooled off as of late, there is potential with their lineup, but questions around health again with guys like Byron Buxton, who, up until probably the last few years, has been injury prone. Same with Royce Lewis. Lewis has constantly been injured. He deals with hamstring injuries all the time. He's constantly on the DL, the IL, however you want to say it. But there is young talent. There is a presence there. The rotation will have a lot of young guys in it outside of those two pretty solid starters we mentioned. So there's a lot of questions around the Minnesota Twins. Now the Cleveland Guardians, ladies and gentlemen, they win with margins. And outside of Jose Ramirez, this team just does not have another superstar. They just find ways to win. But they have not truly improved in the offseason. I think one of the only acquisitions or additions that they've truly made is Sean Armstrong to the bullpen. Outside of that, they've really been pretty silent. So the Guardians, again, are a team the Kansas City Royals are going to have to play against a lot. But the big question is are the rosters structurally built to where the Kansas City Royals can beat them in a series overall in the season? Now the Tigers, and that's the team we talked about the most. And I truly feel that they're going to be the battle test. I truly feel like the Detroit Tigers are going to be the true comparison, if you want to say the pedestal team, however you want to say that, it's the team you have to kind of really find ways to win. They're talented. They have the best pitcher in the AL, and I would even argue the best pitcher in baseball in Tarek Skubal. Obviously, there's, guys in the NL that could compete for that discussion, but, there's 1-2 of Skubal and Flaherty. That's solid. But Casey Mize, the former first-round guy, has not fully lived up to his hype. He's dealt with injuries as well. And their fourth and fifth as of right now is Troy Melton and Drew Anderson, guys that are just not proven talents. So they make up for some of that with their lineup, which is filled with all-star talented guys, which makes them a true test for the Royals. And I truly believe that they will be probably favored going into the season to win the AL Central. Their bullpen is elite. They re-signed Kyle Finnegan, and they also are bringing in guys like Kenley Jansen. They have some other guys in Will Vest. So they are pretty stacked when it comes to having a solid bullpen. But the White Sox, ladies and gentlemen, they're rebuilding. Let's just be honest. They're rebuilding. They have a ton of prospects. We got to see a decent amount of those last year. They have a slew more that are ready to come up and prepare for the Major League season, and I'm sure a few of those will actually crack, the roster out of spring training. But I would anticipate them trying to figure things out this season, truly seeing what they have in their prospects. I don't anticipate them to truly be competitors at the end of the season. I just don't. If I'm just being honest right out the gate, I anticipate it'll be the Tigers and the Royals, and really kind of filtering in there, you'll have to throw the Guardians in just because of their style of play. Now, I think the big things with the Kansas City Royals, they've proven that they can win series. They've proven they can beat and hang with contenders. They stay competitive. And really the biggest question is can they win those series when it matters? Can they hang with the contenders and teams like the New York Yankees, the Toronto Blue Jays, the list goes on and on, really the AL East, and really the guys that you're going to be competing against in the Central? Can you hang with those teams when it matters? Can they stay competitive? Can they find ways to win close ball games? Can they have starting pitching that goes out there and just dominates, and then they feast with their bullpen that has improved dramatically? JJ Picollo has built a legitimate foundation for the 2026 season. Now the core, it's in place, and that's something that I think is significant. The foundation has been built. It is a solid foundation. The team isn't searching for an identity anymore. It has one. Bobby Witt Jr. is the franchise, an MVP caliber shortstop who changes games every night. Cole Ragans, when healthy, gives the Kansas City Royals a true ace, the kind you need in October, not just in April. Vinny Pasquantino, absolutely solid, phenomenal first baseman, really the vocal leader of this team. anchors the lineup with discipline, power, and leadership. He hit 32 home runs, had over 100 RBIs, was a phenomenal first baseman for the Kansas City Royals in 2025. I would anticipate he's going to have another solid year. And then you got guys in the rotation like Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha to really stabilize the rotation. It gives the Royals a chance to win nearly every series if they go out there and compete and play the way that they can play. This roster can pitch, it can defend. We now are finding out that it's going to have the ability to steal bases and grind out wins. The floor is solid, like we said. The ceiling is what is being debated. Now, I think where I'm going with this entire video is the missing piece, and that's an impact bat. There's a lot of questions around who that impact bat or bats could be. They've made additions. They have guys that are chomping at the bit to really prove themselves, and we're going to talk about that. In a market that never sleeps, one name rises above the rest. Lisa Miller from Dan Lynch Real Estate. Trusted by hundreds and recognized across the Midwest. She delivers results when it matters the most. With over 13 years of experience and licenses in both Kansas and Missouri, Lisa isn't just selling houses. She's helping you find a place to call home. Whether you are a first-time home buyer looking to upsize or selling your current home, Lisa makes the process smooth and stress-free. As a local expert passionate about building lasting relationships, she ensures her clients feel confident and satisfied every step of the way. Don't wait, your perfect home is just a call away. Contact Lisa today at 913-579-3246 or 913-369-3000 or visit LisaMillerSellsKC.com. But Lisa Miller at Lynch Real Estate helped you start your next exciting chapter. And let her know the beat of KC, Lucas Murphy, sent you her way. So what's holding the Royals back isn't depth or effort, it's consistent firepower. We've seen the top of the lineup. We've seen how 1 through 5 really seem to be a solid foundation. But then you got the outfield that just has been super suspect. And not only, majority of it is coming from the offensive standpoint. Can they produce at the plate when they need to? And so what I think that is Kansas City needs one impact outfield bat or a true middle of the order threat, someone who can force opposing pitchers to change their approach. It protects Bobby Witt Jr. in the lineup in the 2-hole and turns close games into decisive wins. Not a placeholder, not a reclamation project. We've seen some of those additions. We've seen guys that have come with the Royals that we'll talk about. We need a guy that's proven. We need a guy that we know when we plug him into the lineup, when we plug him into a position, he's going to give it to everything he's got, and he's going to produce. And so a statement addition. That's the difference between competing for a wild card and really controlling the division. The moment of truth for this front office, I think, has yet to really come in the 2026 season. Yes, they've made additions. We'll talk about that. This is where optimism meets pressure. J.J. Piccolo and the Royals have done the hard part. I feel like they still have to add that power bat that they need. But they've built the core. They locked up Maikel Garcia to a long-term contract. They traded for Isaac Collins and Nick Mears, an absolute solid bullpen guy. They've signed Lane Thomas, who is kind of that reclamation project. But we've seen flashes in what he's capable of doing when he played with the Washington Nationals. It's there, ladies and gentlemen. The speed is elite. The question marks are, can he find it again at the plate? Can he find a way to perform a contribution in the outfield? They've added even more to the bullpen through free agency and trade by acquiring Matt Strom, really probably the best lefty possible to add to a bullpen. And they added former closer and Alex Lang, who I'm excited about. I'm truly excited about. If he can get back to his former form, Alex Lang was a closer for the Detroit Tigers and was a lockdown closer. You pair that with guys like Estevez, Urseg, and Matt Strom, you're really creating a foundation in that bullpen that when your guys give you 5 and 6, you feel very confident handing over the ball to the bullpen late in the game. Now, really what we can expect, and that's what I'm kind of intrigued about. They're hoping to have full seasons from young stud prospect in Jack Caglione, as well as Carter Jensen. Productive seasons from these two highly regarded prospects. If you can find a way to tap into what we know Jack Caglione can provide, we've seen it through Florida. We saw it in the minor leagues. Once that translates into what he's able to do in the major leagues, ladies and gentlemen, there's your power. There's your bat that you need to add into this lineup. The same goes with Carter Jensen. Now, he's not going to obviously produce potentially the same power numbers as Jack Caglione, but what he can provide is really a boost into this lineup. Carter Jensen can play baseball, ladies and gentlemen. He will be a very solid backup catcher to Salvador Perez and hopefully the future catcher of the Kansas City Royals. He's a stud. So some more hopeful ambition is seeing the resurgence of guys like Jonathan India, who we really had high expectations for. And really, he just kind of let us down. Whether he was truly dealing with a ton of injuries through the season, we know there were a lot of injuries that he dealt with. There needs to be a resurgence from him. And another person would be Michael Massey. Michael Massey needs to find that form that he had in 2024. I mean, the thing that immediately comes to my mind with Michael Massey was that clutch hit in the 2024 ALDS facing the Yankees. He hit the ball to right field. Juan Soto lays out and it gets past him, and Michael Massey turns on the Jets, ladies and gentlemen. That was one of his highlights of his career, if not the highlight of his career. So finding that, what Michael Massey used to be, I think would be significant. And that's not saying they don't make the acquisition at second base, but I truly feel like that acquisition needs to be out in the outfield. And focus on the currency of baseball. They have guys. They have guys like Ryan Bergert and Noah Cameron, Stephen Kolek. Ryan Bergert and Stephen Kolek came over in the trade from the Padres. And so we saw what they were somewhat able to do, giving them a full season, a true off season in this Royals organization, giving them really a spring training to go out and figure it out, I think is significant. They're talented. They have experience in the rotation, and guys like we already talked about with Cole Reagans, Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo, really building up some of those younger guys that we just mentioned. But now comes the defining choice. Do the Royals stay conservative and hope internal growth carries them, or do they recognize the window opening and push their chips in? They could really announce a presence inside the AL Central by making an absolute cannonball-type splash in the trade market. And we've worn out the discussion of trading for guys like Jarren Duran, Brendan Donovan. It's just those other major markets have not really cracked open the trade market. They've not really cracked open the free agent market. There's a ton of guys that are still available. I mean, a ton. We mentioned one today in Bo Bichette, Alex Bregman, Cody Bellinger. I mean, the list goes on and on of very highly talented players. Kyle Tucker even is still available. So there's a ton of guys, and we're still trying to figure out the Japanese market. A lot of those players are still have their windows open and they're trying to sign with teams. So there's a lot of kind of moving parts in this entire thing. And so I really think that the Kansas City Royals need to make that move before a lot of this stuff, the dominoes start to fall and you maybe miss out. Because windows don't announce themselves. They open quietly and just close as fast and really can slam shut. I don't think that this team is going away for just one season. I don't think that they just anticipate that they're hoping to just compete in 2026 and see what happens. I think this team has been built for the long haul. I truly believe that. And if they go out and make that acquisition that we hope and anticipate that they will, this team will be competitive for a very long time. I truly believe that. The Kansas City Royals, they aren't years away, ladies and gentlemen. They aren't multiple moves away. They are one move away from turning belief into true expectations. The only question I have left is simple, and that's for you viewers. Do the Royals go for it or let the moment pass? I don't think they will. I just don't. I appreciate y'all checking out this video. I appreciate all the support. You guys have been absolutely amazing. I can't thank y'all enough. I truly believe the Kansas City Royals are going to compete. And I think 2026 is going to be a special season for this team. Make sure you guys smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, comment down below, and I end every video the exact same way. Have a good day.